Hi, this is Yirmiyahu Weeps. I'm continuing my examination of Mattityahu Chapter 1, or Matthew Chapter 1. Verse 16. And Jacob fathered Yosef. Yosef means Meya'ad, or increaser, to whom was betrothed Miriam. Miriam means rebellion, or strong waters, or waters of strength. Jacob fathered Yosef, to whom was betrothed Miriam, the young woman. And Yosef fathered Yoshua, who is called Hamashiach. Now that verse is taken from the Sinaitic Syriac Codex, I believe, and there are a couple other versions of it, of that particular verse. There's 3 versions. One version is, that's one version. Another version is, and Jacob, the father of Yosef, the husband of Miriam, by whom Yoshua was born, who is called Hamashiach. And then the third version, Yosef, to whom the maiden Miriam, being betrothed, bore Yoshua, who is called Hamashiach. Going on, chapter 17. So all the generations, or Genea, from Abraham to David were 14 generations, and from, well, yeah, I've already read this before, so I'm not going to read it again. Let's see. The beginning of Yoshua HaMashiach, that word beginning there is the word Genesis, from my understanding. If I'm wrong, someone please let me know, and let me know a source that I can verify. Let's see. Oh, before they lived together? That lived together is the Greek sunelthein, I believe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that quite right. And means came together, before they came together. But, well, I'll get back to that. Let's see. Where it says, and her husband being a tzaddik man. Tzaddik means remaining on the path of Yahweh. And I believe that this was originally written in Hebrew, this good news or gospel. And if it was originally written in Hebrew, from what I've found, tzaddik would be the word that was used there in place of righteous. Where it says, and not willing to publicly disgrace her, planned to privately separate from her. That separate from is apoluo, and is different than the word, from my understanding, different than the word that's used for divorce. It just means to separate. So if 2 people are separated but they're not divorced, that's the term that's used there. Let's see. Don't be afraid to take home Miriam your wife. That take home is paralambano. Well, I'll get to that a little later, sorry. Let's see, I'm going to go through my notes on this. With Ruth, or Ruth, commonly known as Ruth, was either a land of Moab Yisraelite, or a Moabitess convert from her pagan enemy culture. I'm not exactly sure which one. I'd be interested to find out. Let's see. The genealogy that's listed there skips 4 kings between Joram and Uzziah, and then also skips a king after Yoyakin or Konya. And then after, well, skips a king before him, I think, and then after him skips 2 kings. But there's an interesting prophecy on Yoyakin, or Konya, talking about how he won't have any descendants reigning as king. But then there's also, if you look on Haggai, chapter 2, verse 20 through 23, you'll see that apparently that's been rescinded. So it looks like because of people's behavior, Yahweh changed what he was going to do. Then Abiner, I don't know if you remember me reading Abiner in the genealogy, but Abiner is absent in various ancient manuscripts, but included in others. And it's interesting, if Abiner is not there, the number does not come to 14. So it's an inaccuracy, but if Abiner is there, it completes it. So I think Abiner was originally there. Yoshua's name meaning Yahweh is salvation, when it says that he will rescue his people from their waywardness, or he will save his people from their sins, I think it's referring to Yahweh, because the name of Yeshua means Yahweh is rescue, Yahweh is salvation. Let's see. On verse 16, I don't know if you remember what I read verse 16 as, but my footnote here is, according to an early Syriac manuscript, the Sinaitic Syriac Codex. Also, it's quoted in Dialogue with Trypho, and also it's quoted in First Apology by Justin, from 103 to 164 CE, and also quoted in Dialogue of Timothy and Aquila, circa 200 CE. So there's several places where that verse is quoted. Going through my notes here, that pneuma, which this is very interesting. Greek pneuma, what's commonly translated as spirit, the Hebrew would be ruach, and that ruach is feminine, and it means wind or breath or character, or what comes out of a being, in reference to Yahweh, referring to his presence, his essence, his attributes, character, or what emanates from him, his breath or his power. So when you see the Holy Spirit, it actually means the separate breath or essence or character of Yahweh. And Kodesh, what's commonly translated as holy, actually means separate or either completely devoted or with a sense of total abandonment to Yahweh. Now I know Kodesh is used as other places where it's not referring to Yahweh, it's just referring to like separate prostitutes, but they were separate in that they were devoted to like pagan temple worship. So furthering the note on Ruach, it's important to realize that Kodesh, excuse me, it's important to realize that Kodesh is atypical Hebrew. It is not about actions. Lots of the Hebrew language is about, it's action oriented. It's not about actions, it's about a state of being. A consistent theme of the Hebrew scriptures is that the Ruach of Yahweh is regarded as the agent of every human birth. I'm going to go through some scriptures to identify this. The Ruach of Elohim has made me, and the breath of the Almighty has given me life. From Job chapter 33, verse 4. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he went into her, and Yahweh gave her conception, and she bore a son. From Ruth chapter 4, verse 13. Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did to Sarah as he had spoken. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son. Genesis chapter 21, verse 12. Now it's saying that Yahweh did to Sarah, but I don't think anyone believes that Yahweh impregnated Sarah. I think they know and understand that Abraham was actually the father. Going on, Yahweh visited Hannah, and she conceived. That's from 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 21. And the man intimately knew Hawa his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain, and said, I have gotten a man with or like Yahweh. From Bereshit, or Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. So a number of places where it indicates that the Holy Spirit is active even though there is a Father. Let's see. Already went through that. The Greek term geneo, where it's saying fathered, the Greek term geneo covers the entire pregnancy from conception to birth. Context may help determine a more specific meaning, and it may refer to male or female source depending on the context. So you can use geneo with, from my understanding, you can use it with male or female. But this is a clincher for me. I'm going to read this. I don't know if you remembered. Let me go back up real quick. Then I'm going to go on to my next video with this. But with that quote from Isaiah or Yeshayahu, it says, Look, the virgin will conceive and will give birth to a son, and they will name him Emmanuel, which translated means Ale with us. Now I checked that out, and if you look at a more accurate translation of Yeshayahu 7:14 would be, Look, that young woman is pregnant, and she will give birth to a babe, And you, young woman, because the you is feminine, so it's speaking to a woman, will name him Emmanuel, which means with us is Ale, or Ale is with us. So my conclusion is that verses 20 through to 23 are possibly or probably spuriously inserted, or at least altered or badly translated. And if you notice, let me go back really quick. On verse 25, this is a footnote I have for verse 25. According to an early Syriac manuscript, the Sinaitic Syriac Codex, because what I read from my version in verse 25 is probably different from a lot of Bibles, but it's because it's according to the Sinaitic Syriac Codex. Also, Miriam was gone to Elizabeth's for the first 3 months or so of her pregnancy. According to customs at that time, the two would have a period of separation during betrothal while he prepared their new home. Now I've investigated, and there's several sources that indicate that there are several ways that a couple could become engaged. They could become engaged either through exchange of money, or through having a formal document, or through having sex. So from my understanding, that's 3 different ways. But however they got engaged, during the betrothal, the husband would go off to set up their new home. So they would have a period of separation. She would prepare herself for the marriage, and he would prepare himself in part by going off and making their new home. So I'm going to end it there. I will pick up in the next video, but hopefully this has been helpful. If you have any questions, if you want to discuss with me on that, I'm more than happy to. More than happy to see what conclusions people have come to. I'll go into a little more on my next video why this has led me to the conclusion that I've come to. So thank you, and Shabbat Shalom. Have a good life. Thank you. Goodbye.